Let's go to Frank Mba, first public relations officer. Remember, there were complaints also about maybe security not being adequate. But of course, morning, Frank, and thank you for joining us on the phone. The PDP's governorship candidate in this Ondo state election says that security forces concentrated in the rural areas and left the urban areas exposed. Have you heard about this, and what do you think?
Well, basically, this is new. Because as I speak to you, the general information we have and the feelers we have from the field is the fact that the election was fair, that it was free, and that it was credible. And of course, you don't need to look too far to understand why it was so. The operations order and the deployment strategy that was adopted by the Inspector General of Police and his management team for the policing of Ondo elections was customized and tailor-made to suit the security needs of the people of Ondo State. You will agree with me that as a build-up to that election, we had massive deployment of police operatives from all the components of the unit. All component units of the police force were adequately represented on ground in Ondo State. We have deployment from the conventional police unit, from the intelligence arm, from the police mobile force, from the counter-terrorism unit, from the special protection unit, from the bomb disposal, the K9 or the dog section, and even on the waterways, the Marine Police was working closely with the Nigerian Navy to keep the waterways safe. I think we dominated the environment. There was high visibility policing, and this made it impossible for election riggers and for all kind of funny characters to operate. So I will be very surprised if anyone is making any allegation touching on the sufficiency or the adequacy of security in this election. And before I stop, again, there are standard yardsticks for determining whether there was sufficiency or inadequacy of security in an election. For example, you could ask yourself, was there a conducive atmosphere for politicians, for the electorate to exercise their franchise during that election? The police and other security agencies managed to provide that conducive atmosphere for people to go about exercising their electoral right without any intimidation? If the answer is yes, then we're on the right path. Again, you could also look at the level of electoral offenses that were committed. Did we experience rigging? Did we experience ballot snatching? Did we experience stalking? Did we experience violence? Again, you look at policing response. How many people were arrested for breaking any of the laws? Did the police have any reason to use firearms or to use tear gas? What is the assessment of independent observers? Was there anything like post-election violence in a state as politically sophisticated as Ondo? Once you rig an election and once the election was not properly conducted, there's going to be an instant backlash.
Okay, Mr.
The
Frank.
INEC performed their job very well. If the answer to all this is yes, then obviously I think it would be uncharitable for anyone to make such an allegation.
Okay, Mr. Mba, thank you for, you said you dominated the entire Ondo state with security personnel, but is it possible that you concentrated so much that you forgot some parts of the state? Is it possible?
There was no reason to forget any part of Ondo state. But in your deployment strategy in policing, in your deployment strategy, and I'm also sure that's the same thing you do in journalism. When you study the situation, when you study the intelligence available to you, you deploy more resources to an area that is more potential, that has the likelihood of being violent. You deploy more resources to those areas that are more sensitive, to those areas where you anticipate more trouble. And of course, you balance your resources. And that's exactly what we did. I think for once, rather than receiving barrages of condemnation. The Nigerian police has been receiving unending streams of commendation from Nigerians. And I think if you conduct a vox populi on the streets of Akure and in the entire nooks and crannies of Ondo State, the people of the Sunshine State will tell you that they are satisfied with the security arrangements, they are satisfied with the conduct of police officers, the military, and other security agencies. You will also agree with me that in this election there was no kind of problem whatsoever, no violence recorded, no accidental discharge, no shooting, no use of tear gas, no confrontation between the security agencies and the civil populace. And I think that is a sign of good things. And what the IGP has promised Nigerians is that we will continue to consolidate on these security achievements and even promise Nigerians a better and even a much more perfect security around the elections in the future.
All right. Okay, thank you very much indeed, Frank. Frank Oba is the first public relations officer commenting on the state of security in the just concluded Ondo State governorship elections. Well, yeah, that perhaps to some extent, if the PDP will take that, he says, yeah, they did provide enough security. But if you look generally, because politicians just before this elections, you see a certain comment, but after the election results, you see another kind of comment. Other than the release that the ACN has just put out, who knows what the next will be, because of course that statement presupposes or suggests that there will be a subsequent response. But do you think eventually we will come to that stage, if we haven't, where at the end of the elections, all parties, those who lost out, will congratulate the winning party and say, listen, all right, you've done this well. Let's walk ahead and see how we can work together and improve a lot of Nigerians on this one.
I think the problem that we have in Nigeria is that we have not matured enough to accept defeat in good faith. I think if there is an election, one person must be a winner, another person the loser. But the loser must imbibe the culture, the spirit of sportsmanship.
Give us your assessment of the electorate.
The electorate?
Yeah, in terms of the participation, the turnout, because if you had over 1.6 million registered voters and you got far less of that number that came out to vote, what does that suggest?
It depends on many factors. That ballot register could have been inflated.